Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Tottenham Hale in North London to Forest Gate in East London. This ride takes about 30 to 40 minutes and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. Cycling this route is competitive with public transport, which takes about the same amount of time. By bus or tube, you'd also generally have to change trains or take a long walk to the station. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Just hit the bell icon so that you're alerted when I post new videos, which I try to do every week. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting on Ferry Lane, just outside Tottenham Hale railway station, and although I've started slightly to the east of the station, there is actually now a semi-protected lane running all the way up to the entrance of the station. It's protected by plastic wands. We're currently crossing the River Lea, which runs north-south, and we'll also soon be crossing the Walthamstow wetlands, and we're heading east towards Walthamstow and Waltham Forest via Blackhorse Road. From there we'll head southeast through to Forest Gate. We'll be making our way on a mixture of quiet streets in low traffic neighbourhoods and also some great protected lanes alongside main roads. Now these red lights here, they don't apply to us. They only apply to the main carriageway, and that's because the cycle track passes on the left hand side next to the pavement. And very nice cycle tracks they are too. I particularly like the planting here on the left now. That not only makes the place feel a bit nicer and have a bit more life to it, but it also provides a good sustainable drainage system when it rains heavily, which it often does. And this area is a wetland, so it has quite a high water table, I think. So flooding is always something that could happen here, so it's great that they've taken that into account. And it also puts a nice border between us and the pavement, so you're not likely to have people wandering into the cycle lane. When I shot this video, by the way, the track on the other side of the road was not complete. It is now complete, so you've got cycle lanes running in both directions. And I can only apologise for this raindrop that's dropped on the middle of the camera. You might notice that it's often very sunny when I shoot London Cycle Routes videos, and the reason I tend to do that is because even a single drop of rain can ruin the footage. But you'll be pleased to know that it's only this 10-20 seconds of video that's got ruined, so it's now wiped off again. And we're at the junction of Blackhorse Road here, and we're going to turn right. And the way you do that is you wait for a green signal, and then you go over the junction, and you turn right, as we did. And you can do that all in one phase, as we did, because all angles of pedestrians and all angles of cycles have a green light at the same time. And somebody might be able to tell me otherwise, but I think that's a really good example of a CYCLOPS junction, which is it's a really smart way to do a junction. Now, we're not continuing down the main road there, and thank God, because there was a BMW parked in the cycle track, which was quite irritating. But we turned off right here onto Hawarden Road. And yes, you'll occasionally see my hand in this video because I was super paranoid about more rain getting on the lens, but fortunately I did manage to generally keep it rain-free from now on. One of the nice things about cycling in the London Borough of Waltham Forest, which has an excellent council for active travel, is that you can basically choose between cycling on main roads and on back streets. Both of them are excellent. I think it's really probably the main borough where you have such extensive lanes on main roads, but you also have quiet back streets. And this street we're on now, Edward Road, is part of the Coopermill livable neighbourhood, which basically means it's a low traffic neighbourhood. And if you've watched this channel before, you'll know that that's an area of streets, local streets, where through traffic has been removed, often by putting in bollards or planters in the road, or just putting in signs saying that motor traffic can't pass through here. And we've got a combination of that approach here, so there's a sign and also a bollard-based traffic filter. But yeah, as a result, it's nice and quiet around here, and the only motor vehicles you'll see are people accessing homes and businesses within the low traffic neighbourhood. There's no through traffic, and that makes for a really, really nice ride all through these streets. Although this route is very direct, sometimes it might be difficult to remember which way to turn. If that's you, you can download a map of the route in the description of the video on YouTube. We're passing under a railway line here, and this is actually the London Overground line up to Chingford. It's where you come out of Liverpool Street and then the line branches from Clapton to Chingford. I think it's always nice to know which railway lines you're passing under or nearby, especially if your alternative to getting around by bike is public transport, because stations and lines are more likely to be your reference points for getting around the city. By the way, I can I can confirm now that there'll be absolutely no more rain on the lens. It's pretty nice from now on. So sorry about that. I know there was a little bit more as we went under the railway. We are now on the imaginatively named South Access Road, and believe it or not, we're actually following a Transport for London signposted route called Cycleway 27. If that name sounds familiar, it's because it pops up everywhere. It is a very different route, wriggling through all sorts of different parts of London. As of when I filmed this video, which was actually very early January this year, it's quite an old piece of footage, there was no wayfinding or signposting that I could tell on this route. That may have been added since, as I know that they've been on a bit of a signs and paint blitz. So don't expect to see no signs, but there weren't any when I was here. I think that's partly because Cycleway 27 and Quiet Way 2 have actually been rerouted recently. They used to go a different way, and now they go this way. And this way is very nice. You can see we've got a great sort of wide protected cycle track here. It's a combination of protected tracks alongside the main road, paths, very nicely surfaced paths. What I like about this is the divider between the pedestrian path and the non-pedestrian path, which means that pedestrians tend to be standing on the correct side of the path, which is quite unusual for cycle paths running alongside pedestrian paths. And many of the pedestrians who you encounter around here may be drunk, because there are breweries in this area. This is actually, believe it or not, if you don't know London too well, you might be surprised to know that it is actually quite a popular pastime for people to go to industrial estates and drink from brewery tap rooms. In this very small area that we just passed through, you can find Nirvana Brewery, the East London Brewing Co, and Nextamper Brewery. Always worth a visit. Now, we are now on a really quite well done bi-directional sort of two-way cycle path here along a main road. But just a quick word about the area we just passed through before with the breweries. It maybe looked a little bit out of the way if you're the sort of person who doesn't like cycling through out of the way parts of town at night. But note that they did have a bunch of lighting there, so that path is well lit at night, if that affects your calculation. Now, we are coming up to Lea Bridge Road now, and just to help you get your bearings, if you were to go left here, that would take you right into sort of Walthamstow, Baker's Arms, and if you were to have gone right, then that would take you down towards Hackney, towards Millfields Park, kind of end of Hackney, more into central London. We've done neither of those things. We've gone straight on down Orient Way. And in previous videos, I've mentioned that the cycle path down Orient Way is too narrow, and I was completely wrong. It's really good. It's very nice. It would be nicer to have it continue over junctions. It'd give up at that junction there, and I think it gives up at another one here. It's obviously really important to keep an eye out to make sure that there is no traffic coming out of the junction as you go down it. However, it's generally a good path. It's exactly the sort of thing that we like to see in Waltham Forest. That's a much better junction treatment there, by the way. It makes it obvious that it's your priority over the side road. I wouldn't worry about it too much though, as generally there is not much traffic, even on weekdays, coming out those side roads. Coming up on our right there, on that sign, very interesting for rail nerds watching, is the Temple Mills depot for Eurostar trains. The Eurostar service, for those who don't know, is the high-speed rail service linking London with Paris, Amsterdam, Brussels, etc. And their maintenance depot is on the right here. You can see a Eurostar train just there. Now we're coming up to some disruption on the cycle track, and note the sign here to see how this has been dealt with. That's a shared space sign, and basically what that's telling us is you can cycle on the pavement here to get around the disruption. I'm not sure what I think of that. It's kind of a smart way of doing it, I suppose, and it probably works just fine in this location, as there isn't really very much foot traffic. One thing I don't like, however, is whoever's done the work along this track has left a very, very obvious scar along the beautifully surfaced cycle track. I'll be honest, I would be getting the contractors back to redo that because it looks terrible. It also messes with the smoothness of the surface, it makes it harder to ride on, and they've not repainted the cycle symbols on the track, which may seem like a small thing, but over the years, as more and more of these things go, I mean, you know what old cycle tracks look like in London. They're often pot-marked, they're sort of patched over, and they didn't always look like that. It's just that they were probably laid out quite nicely initially, it's just that they were dug up multiple times over the years and nobody ever bothered to fully resurface them, and unfortunately that track is well on the way to going down that. So the only thing I would say is that this video again was shot in January, so it may be that more work has been done on the track since I came down here. Who knows, maybe it's in a better condition. If you cycled down here recently, let me know in the comments, and we can figure it out. We are now crossing Ruckholt Road, and you do that by pushing the button there and waiting for a green light. If you'd gone left here, you'd be heading towards Leyton, but we're not, we're going right, and that's actually going towards the Olympic Park. To do this, we have to go over a bridge which runs over the line that runs into the Eurostar depot we saw earlier, which is pretty cool, I think. There's also a bus depot on the left there, which is also exciting. We don't continue going straight on to the Olympic Park though. What we're going to do here is we're going to turn off and we're going to go left, and we're going to go left down Temple Mills Lane. And this also has an excellent bi-directional cycle track on it. This is really nicely surfaced. They've done a great job, and it would be a shame if contractors were to come along and dig it up because it looks really nice. A small fact about the bus depot on the left, by the way, it was at the time of filming the bus depot for Tower Transit, which is one of the companies that run TfL franchises. But as of this week, the company no longer exists and its operations were sold to Stagecoach London. So this cycle video is officially a historical document. I cannot get enough of this cycle track. I think it's really well done, and I wish every trunk road had one just like it running by it. But we're going to turn off right here, turn off right down this path, and you go under this underpass. This underpass runs under Eastern Avenue, which is a sort of urban motorway that runs through East London. That was originally meant to be part of a much wider scheme of motorways in London, but they got cancelled, so it's one of the few bits that got built. The cycle track resumes along Temple Mills Lane after the underpass. You just have to do a bit of a detour. I guess they felt they couldn't squeeze the cycle track through the main underpass. Note the way the bus stops are done here. It turns into shared space at the bus stops. That's not ideal, but I suppose it's to sort of create your own bus stop bypass. Make sure you cycle behind the bus stop, not through the middle of where people are waiting. And if there's anybody waiting there, obviously go slowly and don't go close to them. Don't terrify them. We're going to turn off here now. You want to use a toucan crossing. This is a shared crossing. You wait at the crossing and you can see there's a light for cycles as well. And we head down Temple Mills Lane, or as the signpost says, which I've copied onto the caption here, Temple Mill Lane. On all the maps it says Temple Mills Lane. On the sign it says Temple Mill. So if anybody knows why that's the case, then please leave a comment. That street actually has a bus gate on it, so it's very quiet. There's just the odd bus going through every couple of minutes. But you can also cycle in this direction. It's better to cycle on the shared pavement here, a shared path. Now, we use this crossing here. Make sure you look before you cross the road. And we go onto this cycle path on Leyton Road. I wish this had a slightly different colour to differentiate from the pavement, but what I really wish is that they would clear this overgrown vegetation and leaves, because in this place, about 80% of the width of the cycle track is covered in brambles. So that would be great to get it cleaned up. However, as I say, the video was filmed in January, so it may have been cleaned up already since then. It then turns into a bit of a shared pavement here, which isn't fantastically done, to be honest. You wait for the toucan crossing and you go on the other side of the street, and yeah, this is really quite a narrow pavement to have as a shared pavement, particularly as you go around the corner by the hedge there. You could just cycle on the road there if you prefer, but I suppose it's nice to have the option. And then you go down the ironically named Major Road, which isn't major at all, it's very small. And we've now entered a low traffic neighbourhood, which is why we are cycling on quiet streets without any traffic, and we don't really need a protected cycle lane here because all the traffic's been removed. This low traffic neighbourhood is actually a joint project between Newham Council and Waltham Forest Council, so we're kind of on the border of the two here, and it's really quite good. It's nice. It provides really useful west-east routes for us to head towards Forest Gate. I believe I'm following the route of a TfL cycleway here called Cycleway 16, but at least as of January I couldn't see any signs on this section indicating that was the case. You can see how the road has been quietened down when we get to the end of the street here. These planters were put in and that stops through traffic from going through. Just turn up right onto the shared pavement and use this cycle zebra crossing. As you can see, the drivers do not necessarily wait for you. Even though it is your right of way to go across the zebra, they should be waiting. Maybe there could be some sort of public information campaign about what those things are, because they are in theory really good. Zebra crossings are really nice, and it's nice to apply that to cycles. But all too often you have to really edge out, and people can get quite angry. I've actually had a guy shout at me, "No, you have to wait," from his car, and the answer is no, you don't have to wait. It is literally your right of way if you're on a bike crossing a cycle zebra crossing. One reason those crossings are so important, and also toucan crossings, the signalised ones, is because when you do a low traffic neighbourhood, it's really important to link it up to other low traffic neighbourhoods and other routes in the area. If you don't link it up, it benefits the residents of the LTN. Great, that's good, very positive. But if you link it up to everybody, you can create this coherent network around the city, and it actually starts to benefit everybody in the city, even if you don't live in the area which has had the through traffic removed. I don't live in a low traffic neighbourhood, but I think they're fantastic for helping me get around the city a lot easier. This bit's a bit twisty and turny, by the way, so it is definitely worth consulting the map. I would also say, if you're enjoying this video, if you'd like to see more, don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube. I try to post new videos just like it every week. I do take requests as well. Let me know in the comments underneath if you've got any ideas, or just comments about the video. I quite like how this cycle track works here. It's quite fun going under the arch of a modernist building. And we go out onto this road, which is in very bad need of a resurface, and also maybe to have its waste management system improved, because there was quite a lot of trash down there. You can just faintly see on the pavement here, there's a sort of painted cycle track, and there's a cycle and pedestrian crossing here, and we use it. It's not particularly well done, but it kind of does the job. It's really just paint on the road. It is, however, a useful example of what I was talking about before. It's a crossing that connects two low traffic neighbourhoods. In this case, it connects Newham-Atherton low traffic neighbourhood, which we're now in, with the Joint-Waltham Forest and Newham LTM, which I was talking about earlier, which is on the north side of the railway tracks. It's great to be able to get between those two LTNs on sort of semi-protected infrastructure. In this case, shared with pedestrians. Not ideal, but it works. Now really it's we're on Earlham Grove, and it's really quite a simple way to get to Forest Gate Station now. You can really just go straight on and we'll be getting to the station. If you want to get into the town centre, which I know is slightly different to the station, it would be a good idea to turn right at Sprouston Road, or even that one just there on the right. I believe that was Norwich Road. And those will take you to where the shops are. In terms of getting your bearings, if you were to go in the opposite direction that we're travelling in, you'd end up sort of at Stratford. And from Stratford you could take Cycleway 2, which is a protected lane, all the way past sort of Mile End and Whitechapel, into central London. But yeah, this is sort of, effectively you could think of this as a backstreet extension to Cycleway 2. And we're getting to the end here. This is of course another traffic filter here, and we are now outside Forest Gate Station, which is just there, dead ahead of us. You can see it if I were to hold still for a second. Thank you very much for watching that, guys. I think you'll agree that that was a quite fun video. I enjoyed it. There's quite a lot of different stuff to keep an eye out for. Just a quick note to say that this is the first video I published since London Cycle Routes hit 5,000 subscribers, and I'm so pleased that we've hit that number. It doesn't have any particular significance except for being a round number. It's just really fantastic to have so many people tuning in, and I'll keep doing the videos as long as people keep watching them. So thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will hopefully see you again next week. Goodbye.